The first time that Alejandro Perez met Janie, he said he was going to marry her. And a few months later, he did. They met at a St. Louis restaurant where Alejandro was a cook and Janie was a server. And 2 little girls later, they were building a life together in St. Louis. Alejandro paid his taxes, he went to church, and he worked 2 jobs so Janie could stay home with the girls. When Alejandro told Janie that he was undocumented, they didn't hide. They hired lawyers and they tried to do it right. Last October, on his way to work, just 12 minutes after he kissed his family goodbye, Alejandro was picked up by ICE. They moved him from jail to jail in the dead of night, so no one knew where he was going. That system that's supposed to let you track a detained person, it never once worked for Janie. 5 months later, Alejandro was deported. On July 1st of this year, Janie and her 2 girls got on a one-way flight to Mexico because the only way that she could keep her family together was to leave everything she knew behind. This is why I'm taking the Abolish ICE pledge. It is time that we replace this cruel and violent system with one that guarantees due process, ends mass deportation, and creates clear pathways to legal status. Every undocumented person in this country deserves a real opportunity to present their case before they lose everything. Before she left, Janie asked me to share one important message. Go meet your neighbor. Here's Janie. If you'd like, we can just kind of start from
Should I start over?
Yeah.
Okay. Alejandro and I, in 2019, we were working at the same restaurant, Rebel Kitchen, and I was a server and he was a cook. I was there first, and he, one day, when I walked into work that day, I was like, oh, there's a new cook in the back, and he just kept eye contact the whole day with me. He kept staring, and I was like, this is very bold of him. And every time I would catch him staring, he would keep staring, and I would be the one feeling awkward and look away.
In a cute way, a cute stare.
In a cute way. I didn't feel uncomfortable, but I was just like, this is, like, it was a sweet. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a, scary stalker stare, but it was very sweet. But it definitely, I was like, I know I'm being watched today. But I was like, oh, he's cute. And he had apparently told the owner that same day that he worked for the first time, he's like, I'm gonna marry that girl one day. And I was not there yet. He was a little more forward in that way than I was, but just a sweet part of our story. And we then started just having simple conversation. It was probably Spanglish. He didn't know very much English at the time. I did not know very much Spanish at the time, but for whatever reason, just like simple conversation made us start talking. It was probably more related to food because that's an easy thing to talk about in both languages. Just asking each other, like, what's your favorite food, or what do you like to cook at home? And we then started dating in May of 2019, and we were head over heels for each other. We had a very quick dating timeline, and then he proposed to me on my birthday in September of that same, so basically 3 months later. What was interesting at the time, though, I did not know he was undocumented while we were dating in those first weeks. I didn't even know that was a question that I could or should. I mean, not that I should ask, but I was like, you're here. Everyone isn't everyone a citizen if they're here? Or just I had no idea. And some people would probably say that's naive of me, but I'm not political whatsoever. I was not really knowledgeable about any of that, those things. And I'm grateful for that looking back, because if I had a strong political stance on this whole immigration thing, especially growing up in the circles that I was a part of, that might have deterred me from dating him. And instead of having his status as a factor in falling in love with him, I was just looking at his heart and his personality, and I fell in love with that. And I'm so grateful for that. Even though all these years later, it's been, 7 years at this point that we've been dating, or been together, 6 years married. And I wouldn't change anything despite all these challenges in the past year. I mean, especially in the past year. But from the moment my parents and I realized that he was undocumented, I'm like, what does that even mean? What does that entail? While we were engaged, we immediately went to immigration lawyers and we're like, okay, like how do we get on the best path we can so we don't cause any issues? We got him an I-10 number immediately and we paid taxes together. I mean, once we were married, which is like not even a year later. So we got him paying taxes with me. He would never receive that, like those Social Security, that money back or anything like that, but he's still paying money from all his jobs to support the society, and we're like, this is what you do in this country, and we don't want to have any issues. So that was like step number one, and then we were like, okay, we want to get you to be a citizen. You're already here. We can't go back. We can't change the first parts of your story. Like, you're here. We know that's a little dicey conversation. However, it's like, what can we do now so we don't run into problems? And so we immediately got like his fingerprints. Of course, during this like time of COVID, that took way longer than normal. So we didn't even get those results back until after we were married. And so that was the first step in beginning the process of getting some kind of permission to be here, whether that was green card, visa, full-on citizenship, who knows. So that was the goal. And once we got those results back from his fingerprints, this is when kind of all hell broke loose in our souls, like, what are we gonna do? Because what those fingerprints showed us that Alejandro didn't even know was that he had a prior deportation. Technically in 2012, he had come across with his cousin in 2012. They didn't make it very much past the border. His cousin got really hurt, and Alejandro is incredibly loyal. He will never leave somebody just to, fend for themselves, even, whether they're hurt physically, mentally, or anything. He is with them. And Alejandro was like, what do you want to do, cousin? And they were like, I need to get back to Mexico. And Alejandro's like, I'm not going to leave your side. And so they turned themselves into the Border Patrol, and they were like, we need to get back to Mexico. And they considered that an expedited removal. Alejandro had no idea.
Yeah, I've seen some headlines
so
that
he
describe
thought
it quite differently.
He thought it was he thought it was a voluntary return, which he had done with his family before. Like, Alejandro had been, so pausing my story with him, he had come with his family when he was about 8 years old. It was the year before 9/11 happened. And they were here for about a year in Georgia. And because his dad and grandpa would come over to work. They would come over to work and to provide for their family. That's all Alejandro knew. That's the family that he grew up in. And so they left a little bit after 9/11. And actually his sister, when they were here that one time, his younger sister was born here on this land. So she's a full-on citizen. And her daughter's now a citizen. And I'm like, what is the difference between her and Alejandro? They're born on different lands. And then Alejandro's second time coming, so they voluntarily returned to Mexico after that Georgia time. Then when Alejandro was about 16, 17 years old, he went to San Francisco for about a year or two to work, and he voluntarily returned to Mexico. And then that's when in 2012, he tried to come with his cousin, expedited removal, even though he didn't know that. And about a month later, he crossed again successfully and came to St. Louis. And so he was here from 2012 all the way up until 2019 with this thing on his record, this red flag that he had no idea. And yes, people could probably argue, well, he shouldn't have even tried to come in the first place, yada, yada, yada. However, if you if you look at his character through all of that, like there's just so much more. And like look at the place where he came from. He was from Ciudad Hidalgo in Michoacan, which is like one of the biggest cartel ran states in Mexico. Like, if you had the option to work for a cartel and they'd say to test your loyalty, like go kill your grandma or something, or go cross the border and try to make a better life for your family. I feel like there's a moral choice there. And I know people always say the law is the law, blah, blah, blah. But I just think there's more to that than what meets the eye to so many people who are arguing that. So anyways, when we found out he had that on his record, I was scared. I was kind of hopeless. We were crying so much because it's like, what do we do? I don't want to be scared for my husband. I don't want to be scared for to live here. And we got advice from multiple immigration lawyers. Like, Alejandro is not who this government is going to be looking for, because he has nothing else on his record to pose a threat to anybody. He often works 2 jobs, like barely gets any sleep. He's a kitchen manager. He's a leader in the kitchen. He knows exactly what he's doing. And, you know, he's a great member of our society. He's always been part of a church, pays his taxes, and is a family guy. And so immediately we knew we wanted to start a family. I wanted to be a younger mom, just to get that started. I always knew I felt like God called me to be a mother. And so when I graduated with my master's from SLU, we pretty quickly got pregnant with Luna. But we weren't too nervous at that time, because we were told he's not who, he's not one of the worst people that ICE would be going after. I mean, there's nothing that would prove that on his record.
I mean, they were just going after violent criminals, right?
I know. And so we had
sarcasm. For the record.
Yeah, I could show you some videos of Alejandro being such a threat in our family.
Right.
Playing princesses with his daughters, you know, it's big stuff.
That is big stuff. We gotta take care of that.
He's often Prince Hans, or he's usually like Moana's dad, you know. Alexi's always Olaf. She's always the sidekick.
Olaf's
Flounder,
arguably the best character.
Pua, you know, all those.
All the ones that you would buy the plushie
Yep.
for. She wants to be that one.
Yep. Oh, well, she gets, Luna makes her be that one. So, yeah, there's no choice there. So anyways, yeah, we had Luna and Lexi in 2022 and 2024. Luna was a little preemie, so I had her at 27 weeks. I had some complications, but she was in the NICU for a few months. That was really tough, but I'm glad it was my first baby because I got to be with her there the whole time. And yeah, she's had some, and I've been a stay-at-home mom since I had Luna because of how much therapy that Luna needed when she was in those first probably 3 years of her life. Technically, I'm a registered dietitian, and I have plans to start my own business and do nutrition counseling of some sort, but it just hasn't been the right opportunity yet in this phase of life. So, and then, so yeah, truly we had not been afraid of any of Alejandro's safety throughout all of this. And so when October 23rd, 2025 came around, it was just another day. It was another day. Lexi had just turned 1 years old 2 weeks before. And we said goodbye to Daddy that morning at about 6:30 in the morning. And I had made his lunch, said goodbye, gave him a kiss and a hug. And about 12 minutes later, he called me and from work, from his car. And I'm like, you just left work, why are you calling me? And he sounded really nervous on the phone. And he's like, Janie, I think ICE is here at my work. And I was immediately in panic mode. My first thought was, let me pray for you. So I prayed with him on the phone, just asked for God's comfort and peace no matter what's about to happen, but protection. And sure enough, right when Alejandro got out of the car, I was still on the phone and I heard these guys approaching him and they said, Alejandro Perez, we have a warrant out for your arrest. And the ICE agent hung up Alejandro's phone. That was the last I had heard from him until later that morning. And being the anxious and incredibly empathetic soul that I am, I just, immediate panic attack. Thankfully, my mom was here at our house in the time. She was in the basement. I ran downstairs. Again, this is 6:45 in the morning. My oldest daughter, Luna, who was 3 at the time, was awake. She was by my side this whole time. Like, why is my mommy acting like this? She was scared. She was like, Mommy, what's going on? And she's really empathetic too. She's like, Mommy, why are you crying? Like, can I give you a hug? Like, and I could not think, talk straight. I'm like, ICE, Alejandro, like to my mom. And I didn't know what to do. I really did not know what to do, but we called our church first because that night, Alejandro was actually supposed to cook al pastor tacos for all the men at our church. He was supposed to be the chef of the night at their men's dinner. And so like I immediately called the church and I'm like, Alejandro's caught by ICE. And I was like, do what you will with that. We have 35 pounds of pastor meat in our freezer right now, but do what you will with that. They ended up canceling it in honor of Alejandro. And later that morning, I knew he was down at the ICE office downtown. I went there to pick up his keys for his car and some checks that he had in his wallet. And the ICE agent who was with him all morning, who arrested him, but who came and gave me those things, very cold. And I'm bawling the whole morning. I can't control my emotions at this time. Like, the love of my life just got ripped apart from me and his daughters. And he's like, do you have any questions for me? And I'm like, I don't know. You just broke my family. You just broke my family. And going to sleep that night without Alejandro in my bed was the most emotional thing that I have probably had ever gone through. So I don't believe you should go to sleep without your spouse. And I was like, this house is not the same without Alejandro. This was going to be our forever home. My parents, when they're here in St. Louis, they live half the time in St. Louis, half in Colorado. They live in our basement because I was supposed to, as they get older, take care of them. This whole experience is now ruining those plans. So in these first probably week and a half, 2 weeks, it was like Mayday mode. Like, what do we need to do to get Alejandro home? We didn't know what to do. It was, again, pure panic. Adrenaline was driving us in a very negative way. And so we were talking to lawyers, we're getting powers of attorney, trying to get notaries to like get down to the detention center he was at. So that day when he was taken to St. Genevieve Detention Center in St. Genevieve, Missouri, which is an hour south from St. Louis. And he was there for about a week. And thankfully, or not thankfully, I also knew that we had to get passports for our girls. And to get a passport, you have to have signatures of both your parents. So there were so many just like little but big hoops that we were having to try to tackle quickly. And I'm like, Alejandro's not here. Like, we need an attorney for this, or we need a notary for this. And so it had been 1 week, and we sent a notary down to St. Genevieve to get Alejandro to sign all these documents. And right when he got there, I got news that Alejandro had been transferred to another facility. He was not on the communication app that I had been, messaging him through that week. And that was the next panic moment. I was like, I don't know where he went. I have no idea where he went. Did he just get deported? Is he on a plane to a different detention center in, Arkansas? Who knows? And I had to, so on the, what is it called? It's called when you like track someone's A number. It was called the ICE detainee locator. I think you're supposed to be able to track a detainee on this USCIS ICE detainee locator.
You could track.
I could. Anyone who has an A number should be able to. Alejandro's never worked. And it was probably entered wrong. Either his name was probably spelled wrong, his birthday, or the A number was entered in wrong. I could never track him, so I literally had to search all the jails that he could possibly go to, and just keep searching, like seeing who was, I don't even know the lingo, like who was now in each jail. There's probably wording for that. And later that day, I finally tracked him down to Greene County Jail in Springfield, Missouri. And we were like, we still have to get these things signed by him. And so thankfully we were in contact with St. Louis Rapid Response, which were our lifesavers. I didn't even know that was a thing, but my dad's aunt randomly contacted us, and they were like, contact this person.
What is St. Louis Rapid Response?
St. Louis Rapid Response, I think they're just volunteers, but like they help families like ours with if someone you love is detained in St. Louis. It's like, we'll help you figure out next steps, because we didn't know what to do with any of this, like these documents, like power of attorney, who do we call for this? Do we need help financially? Like they could just give resources. So it's like a helpline basically. And so they were incredibly helpful, incredibly empathetic, and that's what I needed in these moments of just pure, just internal turmoil, being away from my husband. And like randomly we had a friend of someone who works with St. Louis Rapid Response to drive down to Springfield, get these things signed, take him like a backpack with his passport in it just in case, because I knew that there was a possibility that he would be deported from Greene County. So I had heard it's usually St. Genevieve, Greene County, if you're detained from St. Louis.
Right, okay.
So St. Louis, St. Genevieve, Greene County, and then either to Louisiana or Texas is typically the St. Louis route. Typically. Again, they can always go off the beaten path and you would never know. And they also take the detainees in the night. They take them in the night, so their communication via texting or video calls gets cut off at midnight to I think 6 a.m. They cannot communicate with anybody outside of the jail. And so I know they purposefully do this. And so when Alejandro was transferred from St. Genevieve to Greene County, they took him in the middle of the night. So you can't tell any of your loved ones where you're going. You can't even tell them I'm moving, I'm transferring to another place, even if they don't know where they're going. They can't tell anyone. And what's the next piece of bad news, I just felt like it was a domino effect of bad news in these first few weeks. So let's say, I think we're about 2 weeks in. He was at Greene County, and this woman who took the backpack down with his passport tried to take it to the ICE office in Springfield, Missouri. And they're like, we can't accept this because Alejandro is not in ICE custody anymore. And we're like, where did he go? Mm-hmm. Or what's going to happen next? And his case turned federal. They chose Alejandro Perez, who has no threat to our society, to make his case turn federal. And they're like, they're choosing more and more cases like Alejandro's to make federal, but they have not always enforced this. We don't know why they chose Alejandro, because besides this reentry, his record has nothing else on it. And that goes the third crushing feeling in my soul. I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, what does this entail? Like, what's next? What can I expect? And then that same day, he was transferred back to the ICE office in St. Louis. And then from there, he was now in the U.S. Marshal custody. And then he was transferred to Jefferson County, Illinois. He was transferred to Jefferson County Jail in Mount Vernon, Illinois. And that's when we hired the best defense attorney in St. Louis. And I'm grateful I know we are lucky to even be able to do that. I was like, we need Alejandro home. We need Alejandro home. We are hiring the best that we can. And so, we had his pre-trial, we had his change of plea court hearing, we had a sentencing hearing, and thankfully, because Alejandro had nothing on his record, he had a 0 to 6 month sentence, which is part of the sentencing guidelines. It's like a chart. It's like if you have this offense but nothing else on your record, like it shows you how many months you should serve in jail. And so his was the lowest possible because, I'm glad for that, obviously, but still, like, when I was like, if Alejandro's going to be gone from me for 6 months, I cannot imagine 6 months without my husband with these 3-year-old and 1-year-old. I don't want to do this by myself. Like, this is not how it should be. I'm a stay-at-home mom. We have made this work. This was our decision. He was the hardest worker because he wanted to provide for our family. And thankfully, I'm trying to think the time. I don't remember the dates of the court hearings, but at 2 of them, we had a huge group of people, of white individuals, come and support Alejandro from our church, our close family friends, because they know Alejandro's character. In support of Alejandro, fighting against what Alejandro's being served for, We probably had 40 people and 50 people at these 2 different court hearings. And I think that was eye-opening to the judge, who was part of the Federalist Society. I don't even know what that is, but I'm like, that is not in our favor, I know. But I saw in his eyes, when he first sat down and saw the crowd of people in this courtroom, he scanned it, and I'm like, I hope you see the impact Alejandro has had on all these people in this room, and you are losing someone very important in our country. He helps the country run smoother. They're losing a fantastic individual who meets so many of the U.S. core values, in my opinion. But he's not white. And I'm like, yes, I was born on this land, but what makes me any more different than Alejandro and deserving to be here than him? And if you're going to kick Alejandro out, I'm going to follow him. You know what? I've had roots here in St. Louis since the 1800s. But I will follow him because I don't believe that how you are breaking up families, and not just our family, but punishing many families by taking away a parent, and so many families have to choose, like, do I stay here or should I keep our family together? And I know so many families, like, it's even hard to be able to get back to their deported individual because it's so expensive. And with Alejandro in jail, I remember we looked at our bank statement because communicating with someone in jail, especially at a detention center, it's not prison. Prison, I think, is cheaper than a detention center. We counted up our statement of all the things we had paid for Alejandro, which is communication. We talked to him about 3 times a day for 20 minutes. And you have to pay for commissary because the food that they give there is not enough. It's basically the 3 same things every day. It was like $2,000 for 1 month. And each month, it was anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 for the 4 months he was in U.S. Marshal custody. And he was eventually deported on March 11th. They're just walking in front of it. It's all good. It's all good. So he was deported on March 11th. And that was pretty much exactly 5 months from the time he was arrested by ICE until he was out of U.S. Marshal custody, and then back into ICE custody, and then deported. And then we quickly visited him. I was like, we got to get to Mexico as quick as possible because he was unwell mentally. He had been here for half his life, and he doesn't know Mexico anymore. He has no life there. I mean, his older sister's there, and his parents then went back. But he doesn't know how things work there. And when he was taken to El Paso, Texas, and he and the other detainees were forced to walk across the border into Ciudad Juárez. And Alejandro told me he was just a sobbing mess. Because all that he had worked for, all that he thought was going to be our future, gone. As he walked across that border back into Mexico. He had no choice. Still thinking it's unfair. And it is. I mean, life is unfair, but just so hurt. And again, why us? Why him? When he would not hurt a fly. So it was about a week until we were able to get my parents and my 2 girls and I on a plane to go visit him in Querétaro, Mexico, where the rest of his family is right now. And we spent a couple weeks with him, which was like, reuniting was just everything. I mean, if you see the pictures of us getting to embrace each other and having the girls run into his arms for the first time, it's a sobbing mess. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I told I told Luna, you're going to be the first one to go hug Daddy. And it was, we turned the corner after we got our luggage, and he was on his knees waiting with his arms wide open for Luna to run into his arms. And, he's crying, I'm crying. Luna's, grinning from ear to ear because she is getting to feel her daddy again and the safety of his arms. Lexi was a little bit like, what on earth is happening? But again, a 16-month-old at the time, right, that makes sense. Right. And she's a little more hard to get. Uh-huh. So again, but she recognized her daddy still. And if Alejandro had been taken 6 months prior, when Lexi was 6 months, she would not know her daddy. So I know there's little miracles here and there within our painful story. It's like Lexi the whole time remembered her daddy. Video calls in the jail constantly, getting to see his face to remember him, So she knew him when we were in person with him in Mexico. It did not take long to reconnect that relationship. Of course, there's going to be so much hardship getting back into parenting, being married again. That's going to take time to build. And but yeah, that time in Mexico together was just so beautiful. However, it's also like such a loss because I have only ever lived in St. Louis. I have all my friends are here. My community of church that I've had since I was 2, so for 27 years. I'm going to uproot myself to be with Alejandro and to fight for what I believe in. I'm going to take my girls with us, and we're going to have a beautiful life in Mexico, but I think they're losing a handful of good people that would help this society be better. And it hurts me to take my oldest daughter, Luna, away from her friends. She knows what's happening. She doesn't want to go to a new place. She's nervous. She doesn't want to go to a new school. She does not know Spanish yet. She's going to learn quickly, that's for sure. And there's so many good things that I know is going to happen. We're going to get to experience his culture and really respect it more than we ever have before. This is Lexi. Hi. Wanna come sit?
Hi, girls.
Come sit. This is my friend Tommy. And he has a daughter whose name is Loey, and they call her Lolo sometimes. How fun.
Oh, that's okay.
It's all good.
You're welcome to sit down.
Yeah, sit down. Yeah. You can sit over there. Yeah. So it was an interesting feeling being in a new place that I had never been before. Yet I was like, this is going to be the place we're going to live. And so within 2-week period, we were like, we have things we need to figure out. We need to figure out a school for Luna for the fall. We need to figure out neighborhoods where we want to live. We need to get a car. And so it's a weird feeling to be like, this is not a vacation. I'm going to live here? But I'm like panicking about like leaving all my comforts that I've ever known, that I've had my whole life. And that terrifies me. And it terrifies me to have to say goodbye to my parents. We have the most beautiful, close, tight-knit relationship. And my parents and I are very unwell, thinking about how we will feel in basically 2 weeks when we're going to have to say goodbye to each other. Not forever, obviously.
Right.
But it is expensive to fly back and forth. It is so expensive. And I was talking with my parents, I think yesterday, or even this morning, and we were looking at all the expenses that we have had to make, including traveling, communication, defense attorneys, living while we were in Mexico, driving, all these things since Alejandro was arrested. It's been $35,000. And so part of me, I know we are more fortunate than many families. We're not well off. We're comfortable. And if this is hard enough for us to be able to afford to go see their father and my husband and make a life there and to provide for us in different ways, like, I just feel for the families who can't get to their loved one who was deported. And how that's like a whole other pain in all of this for them. Like, I can't imagine if like we went even longer without them seeing their father. Or if they're like, we can't afford 5 tickets or however many tickets you need to get to your family. We don't have the money to start a new life somewhere else. Bleh.
Wait, is that chocolate milk?
Yes.
I should have brought my chocolate milk.
Oh,
Chocolate
yum.
milk. Have you ever had strawberry milk or vanilla milk?
Have you had well, chocolate's probably your fave. We're chocoholics over here.
Me too. What's your favorite ice cream? Have you had ice cream?
You don't like ice cream, do you?
No, you
Do you
probably wouldn't
do you
ice
like
cream.
broccoli ice cream? That sounds
Broccoli?
interesting.
In your ice cream? That's really silly.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, we have about 7 suitcases now that we are gonna fill with whatever we can fit in it, our essentials, and the girls and I are gonna move to Mexico. July 1st, we have a one-way ticket to Mexico to go start our new life there. And I know there's so many hardships that will come from there. I know there's going to be culture shocks for us. There's going to be homesickness. But I believe this is our next step. And I also believe God works out everything for good. So as unfair and as painful as this has been for our family and the hurt that I feel from our government, I still believe things will work out. Just not how we thought they were. But I hope things can be different in the future so we can come back more freely as a family. That all 100 can be accepted here and not racially profiled. So I won't stop talking about this. And again, not just for us, but families like us or future families. Like, I don't want this for anyone else. It has been the hardest thing I've ever had to go through.
Is there anything that you would like to tell maybe people who just are very, if someone just doesn't know what's going on,
Okay, go check on Lexi, sweetie.
or if they, for someone who's disconnected.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, you're fine. What would you tell somebody who is disconnected from all of this? They don't know what's going on
Yeah,
with ICE.
yeah,
They don't
yeah.
truly understand what it's like when you are going through something like that. What would you tell that person?
I feel like I first think of get to know your neighbor, listen to their story, ask questions, and don't just hide in your own little bubble. I feel like it's so important to have those challenging conversations, even if like you've believed one thing your whole life or been in like one little political bubble your whole life, like at least have conversations with people who are dealing with hardships like this. Because I bet if you put yourselves in these families' shoes, or maybe the detainee shoes after hearing their story, you will have at least a different perspective. And at the very least, compassion and eyes opened, ears opened, and a bigger heart for like people who are not like you, who might have vastly different views as you. But just don't be stuck in your own little bubble and not be willing to listen. And I feel like what I've been convicted of, yes, I feel strongly about this because it has affected me firsthand with my husband being detained by ICE, and now we're getting booted. I'm willing to be booted because it's what I believe in, and I believe our family needs to be together. But I feel like I've been convicted on if there's a different political topic that I might not know about or I might not care about, but someone else who I know or love might, if they care deeply about another topic, I want to have a conversation so I can learn more. So I can hear what they think. I want to care what someone else cares for and not just be indifferent. And like I have never had strong political opinions. my whole life up until this point, but this has shown me, like, learn and really learn about your neighbors. And with the worldview that I have, I'm like, let's love. Let's lead with love. Even if they're different from you, even if they're not in a good place, or that maybe they've done something that you don't believe is right, but lead with love and compassion, and let that guide like your decisions and those conversations, because I think that just opens so many doors and growth for everybody, instead of leading with hate or just closed offness. Like, I'm not even gonna listen to someone else's story because I want to believe what I believe in. I don't want to hear anything else. That doesn't get you anywhere in life except for being more judgmental. That's my child. So I feel like those are some thoughts, a few thoughts.
A few thoughts.
That's my story.
Is there
Here we
anything else
are.
that you would like to share before we
Besides
before
the
we
middle,
cut?
besides the middle finger. No, I mean, I just want things to be different. I want to be able to come back here one day. We did not sell our house here. We're gonna buy a house in Mexico, but since my parents live here half the time, like, we're not gonna sell our house here. I want to be able to come back to it. I want to come back with Alejandro. Legally.
Yeah.
Legally. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know what else to do though.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
get him there. To get him here. I've done what I feel like I can, talking about all this, advocating for families, not just us, but for families like ours too. Because if things don't change for us, I want it to change for the next family. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to
Mic
one
drop.
day.
Boop.
One day, maybe our kids can play together at this park.
Yes.
Alejandro
yes.
can come hang out too.
Yeah, exactly. You would love him.
I bet I would.
Yeah. Come here. Why is
Thanks
Sissy
for
sad?
letting me talk to your mommy for a little bit.
You say you're welcome. Are you tired? You're sweaty. Oop. Sharky! It's Luna the Sharky! Yeah, did we fall?